10 years back, if you told me that in 2026 I would vote for President Yoweri Museveni Kaguta, I would have told you not in my lifetime. Some of you think that our families or the regime has never squeezed us. That is not true. My grandfather was a police officer. He joined the police, and by the time the Idi Amin regime came around, he had risen to the post of the Deputy Inspector General of Police. And because of the Idi Amin regime, he was forced to flee to the UK in exile. So he stayed there for about 10 years. And by the time he came back, it was for more than 10 years. When he heard that the regime had changed, he came back. And by the time he came back, shortly after that, President Yoweri Museveni Kaguta took over power. So he hopefully thought this new regime would take him in and give him a job. He tried going to the president's office and tried to talk to them and do everything. They still refused to give him a job. He wasn't hoping for one of the highest positions in the regime, but of course, being a police officer and he had risen to the Deputy Inspector General of Police rank, he expected something good to come out of it. But when the regime denied him anything and did not give him any job, any occupation, this forced him to go and seek for other jobs. He ended up working with NGOs he ended up working with UN and Red Cross. So that automatically switched him to the opposition. Years later, when opposition started to gain traction in Uganda, of course now he was on the other side of it, the other side of the government, and he was strongly supporting the opposition. And by the time Kizza Besigye came around, now he had strongly joined the opposition and he was backing up Kizza Besigye. And so by this time around, the government starts to consider to pull him back in the system, because now his friends, like people like Obitre Gama, were already in the system and working, and they were doing things like their life was fine. So for him, he had been struggling out of it because they had refused to absorb him in the system, and this made him bitter about the regime, the current regime. Growing up in such a house, all we knew was the opposition, because he had all the valid reasons to be in the opposition. All we knew was the opposition. So that's why I'm saying, if you told me 10 years back, or even 15 years back, 20 years back, that 2026 or sometime in the future, I would vote for President Yoweri Museveni Kaguta. I started voting in 2011 and all I knew was the opposition. So we started with Kizza Besigye, and all the 2 times I voted for Dr. Kizza Besigye, I never ever regretted them. All of those times. And tell me why. If someone says NUP has been a state project, a government project to kill opposition in Uganda, I promise you it has been one of the most successful projects, if that is true. Because NUP has given us no option. NUP has given us no option but to choose the NRM government. So far, this has been the worst option they have given us as opposition. We had no option but to choose the current government. So when you say that we don't know what families are going through, what people are going through, my grandfather's colleagues are people like Obitre Gama, and for him, he came back and really didn't get to work with the government, and they denied him that. My grandfather, wherever he's looking from, I don't think he's disappointed in the choices we have made today. If I demanded to be a Deputy Inspector General of Police today, would I make it? Do I have the qualifications to make it? No, I don't. I don't qualify. If I wanted a government position, what have I done to earn it? Now, this is time for reconciliation, people. This is time for reconciliation. We have been carrying loads of our parents, our grandparents, our relatives because of what they faced in their lifetime in the regime. Now, if NRM refused to give him the job, I'll not justify the fact that he was bitter about it, but I will say, one, he didn't fight with them. Secondly, he wasn't in the NRA. By the time he left the country, as the youth, NUP has continuously said that there's high levels of unemployment. The high levels of unemployment is a worldwide issue. And for Uganda, a country that has a population of more young people and the youth compared to the older people, how do you expect to traditional white collar jobs to be available? We have to, as a nation, as the younger generations, we have to start looking for jobs in a different way. The traditional white collar jobs are done. The seats are few and they are done. The population has risen and there's no way we're going to go back to that mentality. So what are the things we can ask from the government? Right now, skills education should be compulsory at all levels of education. This is how we are going to get ourselves out of that kind of unemployment. And things like technology, we are heading into a digital world. How can the youth and the youth benefit from all this, and the young ones that are upcoming? How can they benefit from this? How can they get all the necessary training to benefit from the technology for where we are heading? How can we prepare ourselves, our children, the people around us to enter into that digital world? Thirdly, talent. The government should emphasize on building talent and supporting such things. And then fourthly, what are the things that people consume the most? Things like content, things like food. This is where there are ready markets. Now we have to learn to create or make businesses out of these things. You may say you're in an urban setting where you can't do farming. That's not true. There's what we call vertical farming. There's what we call raised bed farming. All types of farming, horticulture. Some of these things don't take a lot of land. They don't take a lot of space. We should focus. The world is not going to stay in this traditional manner for long. Right now, we need to build new traditions that are going to sustain us in the future. As long as we remain searching for white collar jobs and so on, we are always going to blame the government. And the president has been emphasizing on such things. So I just find myself drift towards him of late. So you remember when President Trump came into office, his recent elections, he wanted to suspend TikTok for its propaganda and the things it has been doing during his elections and his regime. But he ended up reconsidering it because he looked at the number of people that it would affect. And there are a lot of US citizens who are making money out of content creation on TikTok. So they ended up suspending it for some time. And then they reconsidered it, sat down with the Chinese government and the owners, and then they made adjustments in TikTok US. And now TikTok US was reinstalled. It was going to affect many American citizens, and they were going to lose their sources of income. So now they found a way. So the president has been focusing on other means of making money. And if, as we, the younger generation, continue to ask for him to invest in these areas and to push people like that, trust me, we're all going to benefit. Instead of fighting the regime or screaming about, because apparently the opposition doesn't give us a better option. We have to come down and reconcile and find ways to work together.